everybody hear us? Let's start by the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
First time. U.S. citizen.
Okay.
There he goes.
Miss Anderson,
Present.
Mr. Clay's here, Mr. Gilliland, welcome back.
Here.
And just if y'all didn't hear, they did total his bicycle.
They also painted an emblem on the sidewalk.
Of him? That's not good. Harry?
Present.
Steve?
Present.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Tabitha?
Here.
And vacant's not here. All right. So we'll have Harry, Steve, Melanie, and John Gilliland voting today, and myself.
No, I won't be voting.
Oh, Harry. Harry, I'm so used to saying Miss Melanie because she voted all those years. Okay. Agenda item number 2, additions or deletions to the agenda?
None, sir.
Everybody good? Meeting number 3, meeting minutes. Anybody need to make a change or accept as written?
Move the minutes be accepted as written.
Have a motion by Mr. Mullenhour. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. And any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Get down to the next one. Where are we at? 4. Employee recognition. Mr. Paget, how about coming forward? We're going to give you, we're giving him one for 5 years because he stopped and started over. He's actually got, he's in his 36th year. Is that right? Going into your 36th year, you just said? He's our senior employee. That's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Awesome. You all right? Good deal. Oh, about one.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations.
And I think his wife is the senior employee at FPNL here.
I would imagine so.
I think so. I think Donna's got 42 years, 41 years, something like that. So, Jess Manson's retirement. Jess is not here. But Jess is moving on, and just for the record, he's replacing me at the job that I'm leaving. And, so he's going to work for Williamson Cattle Company. Sad to lose him here, but glad to get him there. Yeah, so, I think he had 28 years in. Is that what he had in with us? Yeah, so, but he's moving on. Department supervisor updates. Chrissy, let's start with you, seeing how you're the cutest one of the bunch. How's it going?
It's good.
Good? Fully staffed? Looked like everything was full out there this morning.
We are full.
Everybody was happy and everything's good. All you want's AMI, right?
Yes. Yep.
I am very
With Steve's working on that behind the scenes diligently, trying to find us some funds. So anything we can do for you?
No, we're good right now.
Nothing you need other than AMI?
Just AMR.
Okay. All right.
Your GoFundMe page.
That's probably not a bad idea.
No one's going to support that.
We need the AMI.
Yeah, so,
No question about it.
but again, he's making a lot of phone calls on that, so maybe he'll stumble around and find us some money for that. And, it'd be nice to have. Unfortunately, we've got so much other stuff going on, we can't afford it without funding.
Right.
It's gotta be funded.
If we didn't have all this other stuff, it would be easy,
Mhm.
so, but, you know, everybody knows I'll be leaving, so it's been a pleasure working with you. I'll be here for the rest of this month. But hope you stay another 16 years, 17
I plan
years.
to.
Okay, good deal.
Zoom meeting.
Thank you. And I've already been asked if I can keep my son's address. No. We've got a newcomer in the ranks. Let's go ahead and get Chris Weeks up here.
Yeah.
First off, guys, Chris has been promoted to Jess's position.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome. That's what we like to see. You know, this is why I asked so much about succession. This was easy, I'm sure. I think y'all had, what, 3 or 4 applicants? 3?
Yes, sir.
So it wasn't like you were, you know, kicking the weeds looking for somebody, but Chris, we're really proud of you. Glad you got it. I think you were well deserved.
Thank you.
Not saying the other gentlemen weren't. I don't know who they were, but you've been here, what,
Since 97.
since 97? Okay. That's pretty commendable.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now you got to start looking for who your number 2 guy is. So, so how is it going?
Pretty good. Got a lot going on. I think we're gonna be down a couple people as of Thursday, so we'll have a couple of spots open, and then hopefully, we'll get a couple more people on board on top of that for the new airback systems and everything going in, but pretty good.
Okay, so I know you're losing 2, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any more?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Unfortunately, those 2 are going to Williamson Cattle. So, so I look like the bad guy sitting up here. But, just, you got big shoes to fill,
Yes, sir, absolutely.
you know? He's done a good job for us for a long time.
Very much.
And I don't think they'll see any interruption in the service with you. I think you'll do as good or better. And that's what we hope.
Yes, sir.
These board members they're always available. And don't be scared to talk to them,
Thank you.
you know, and,
Door is always open.
yeah,
We want to make sure that, number one, everybody, when they come to work, you want to come to work. You
Yes,
enjoy coming to work.
Yep.
That there's no friction or anything going on. We all have a lot invested in this. And as I keep saying, the OUA is based upon you, the employees.
Yes, sir.
Right? And you're the most important factor, everybody that is out there. And my phone is open 24/7, literally. All right? If there's a problem, want to know about it. If there's something we can rectify, want to know about it. If you need equipment, let's go get it.
Yes, sir.
Let's do the job properly and make sure that everybody is happy with what they're doing.
well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And, my term runs out next month, so I don't know if you guys will be brought back or not. Depends on who your next, chairman is, but, at least you got to come to one.
Yes, sir.
Do you need anything other than 2 employees?
I think that's about it. I think we have a new VACCON coming, and we're looking at a new vac truck.
Yeah, it should be here pretty quick.
There's maybe 1 or 2 service trucks that
Yeah.
probably need to be replaced sometime
Yeah.
in the near future, but other than that,
Well, now you gotta get out and represent and hire people.
yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you and
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you again.
Mr. Gamatia? I know nothing's wrong at the water plant other than you got too much rain.
Yes, sir. We got quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I run up to Rogers Sunday and the valley is full. I mean, it's deep up there. So it's all running downhill, so it's coming towards you.
Yep.
So everything going good?
Yes, sir.
You full staff?
Yes, sir.
Figured out your number 2 guy yet?
No, sir.
Something you guys need to work on, really. It's because we know you're close. You know, you're within 2 years probably.
9 months.
So, yeah, so that needs to go to a priority. Because I think you need to train them. you don't need to bring somebody in at the end of you and just turn them loose. I mean, my suggestion would be that you train them because your knowledge, there's no way that you can, if they started today, that you can let them know what you know in 9 months. You know, and you'll have your 30?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Wow, good for you. How much does Delane have?
She's at, I think she's around 35 over there.
Wow.
Somewhere around in there.
Good for y'all. That's awesome. That says a lot. And both y'all's departments run smooth. That says a lot too. Really appreciate you coming in for me and talking to me and doing the job that you do. I really appreciate it. You do a good job. You set a pattern for everybody else. You set the bar pretty high. So, and we appreciate that because we never hear anything from you.
I got a good crew.
Yeah, but that's a good crew starts at the top, you know, and that filters up and down, and I appreciate that, and this board appreciates the job you do. Anything we can do for you?
No, sir.
Well, if I don't see you, enjoy your retirement when it comes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Kevin? How's it going?
Going all right.
It's going all right.
Yes, sir.
Could be better?
Doing good. I think everything can always be better. The job's going fine.
Okay. Fully staffed?
Fully staffed.
Okay. And you,
Couple trainees, but
but
they're
you,
coming up.
one of those should have got his license, right? And the other one was waiting?
Well, we have one that's waiting. He's got probably another month, then he can get his.
And he's already passed everything, he's just got to get the hours, right? Okay. All right, so how many will that give you with license down there?
8,
8?
I believe,
Okay,
7 or 8.
Yeah.
We'll have 2 trainees after
Okay.
that.
okay. All right. All right, who's your successor?
Roll.
Rome? Good, so you've got one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what we want to hear. I know.
I've already been working with him on everything. So.
Okay. All right. I know people get tired of hearing me say that, but the prime example's Jess just left. And we just found out for sure that we got a guy with 9 months left. And you're at that threshold,
Up 11.
11 months? That's the reason I scream so loud. But again, we can't thank you guys enough for the years of service. You know, I mean, it's been a very long job for you, and unfortunately, the pay hasn't kept up with like everybody else, but you guys have stayed the course. You got a great retirement for sure. But we appreciate everything you do. So, it's good to hear that you've got a second guy in place. Is there anything we can do for you?
No, sir. We're
Okay.
good.
All right, well, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so Jamie?
Morning.
Good morning.
My report should be in the board
It is.
packet there.
Yeah.
I can go over it individually. Surface water treatment plant, we just went over some timekeeping, punctuality, and attendance out of the current handbook, just to make sure everybody understood it. We did that at all departments. Kevin's working on some flushing and flush boxes, and me and John and Kevin's been working on a new FDEP lead and copper inventory that's coming down from EPA. Maintenance, timekeeping, punctuality, and attendance. Updating the backflow and grease trap, that's another thing FDEP's requesting from us. As you said earlier, Jess's last day is Thursday. We were interviewing for his replacement when I done this, but we picked that now, it's Chris Weeks. The meter reader office expansion, the bids are out on the street, they're due back March 14th at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Haven't had no inquiries yet, but we sent it to several contractors locally, direct solicited, plus we put it in the paper and all the websites.
Okay.
Wastewater treatment plant, timekeeping, punctuality, and attendance. The entrance road paving, I believe, is complete, Jamie?
Yes.
Paving is complete. Pretty nice road out there.
Makes it nice, don't it?
It's been a long time coming. Cemetery road frontage, we worked with Okeechobee County Road Department. They're shooting some elevations and possibly gonna clean the ditch on the north side. And then we'll be working on quotes for fill, dirt, and fencing. Try to close that front off there.
Okay. Now the next question is, how long do you have left?
Probably another year.
Okay.
We got some things to work through and get some positions filled and office space and try to get a successor in for me as well.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. All right. Have anybody in mind?
There's a few in mind, internally. It's just according if they're interested.
Interested in it, yeah. Okay, good.
We kind of put that out there some time ago when y'all started this internally and asked a few that we thought may be qualified. And one was interested, but that could be one of your long-term guys that's going out, so
Yeah,
if nobody, we might have to go to the outside.
okay. All right. All right, well, good deal, man.
All right.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for doing this for me. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Anybody want to pull anything or leave it as written?
Motion to accept the consent agenda for February 20th, 2024 as stated.
I have a motion by Mr. Nelson, need a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Trent. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, now we're going to jump all the way to 22. And going to get our salary analysis and benefit survey. So see what we got here.
Morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Good, good.
It's good to be with you all again. It's been a little while since I was here for outreach, and it's pretty cool to see some of the folks, like the recognition you had with Mr. Pageant. They were names on a spreadsheet, and now they're real, and you're starting to see, the level of commitment that folks have here, and how many years of service that they've given to this community and to this organization. It's pretty cool to be a part of. So our team has really enjoyed working on this project, and my name is Rob Williamson. I've had the honor of being your project manager for this engagement, and Mr. Chairman, know that you're moving on, but I did have an opportunity to tell you earlier that I think you've got a really good team here.
We do.
So basically, you hired us to do some key things, and kind of as an overarching view before we get to the PowerPoint, to assess the current conditions that you have here, to survey the employees, to survey the market, and then put that information together and then report on it. And that's the piece that we're at today. We're at the report on it phase. And that'll take on two different pieces. One is reporting to you, the policymakers, and then the second part of that reporting on it piece will be to write a final report that'll memorialize everything that we've done and the study findings and present that to you. And we've created a PowerPoint presentation that take maybe 10, 15 minutes to go through. And of course, at any point along the way, you can stop me if you have any questions as we move through the presentation. And we could go ahead and get started. I guess John's going to do that. Lauriston said that Evergreen would have to pay him a stipend if he advanced the slides. So I guess John's going to bail me out here, save me a little bit of money, and he'll advance the slides. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So just kind of a brief agenda of what we're going to go through today, the study process and the philosophy that we created. We can just go ahead and go to the next slide.
Oh, next one, sorry, I'm sleeping.
It's all good. It's all good. You've had knee replacement surgery, so you're 40 times a little.
You have both names, me and John.
Thank you. Right. So to this point, the task, as I was mentioning, you've got those key things where we kind of did an assessment of current conditions after the kickoff call, and then I came here on site. We had orientation sessions in this room. We had focus groups. We also did it at another location out in operations. Then we surveyed the employees. We surveyed the market. You can go ahead to the next slide, John. And then the study goals really that we were looking for is we wanted to create a pay plan that was fair and competitive. When we began, you had job titles, job classifications, and pay ranges for those different job titles. To modernize your pay plan or to make it more consistent with HR best practices, our methodology takes those classifications and moves them into market competitive pay ranges. And then we take the employees that occupy those job titles and we move them into those market competitive pay ranges. And we do that with a combination of the employee survey and the market survey that we did. We put that together. This was all done with collaboration with your leadership team. Next slide, talking about the compensation philosophy. As I said, we want it to be competitive to market. We all understand that there is a labor market that was before COVID, and there's everything that happened after COVID. And I've added a couple of slides that kind of demonstrate how the market has moved since 2020 in both the private and the public sector. But we want to be fair, we want to be competitive. We want to have a flexible pay plan, but we also realize there's fiscal realities that we deal with as an organization. So we want the pay plan to be fiscally responsible. There are priorities. There are capital expenditures. I'm sure you have quite a few engineers that are going to talk about different projects that are in different stages of completion here today, and there's more problems than we have money in just about every organization that I go to. Open range pay plan, not a step plan. Provides you more flexibility, quite honestly. It allows you to take high performers and move them farther within their range based on their performance. It allows you to not be restricted by, we're going to move someone one step just because they were successfully able to stay employed another year. So we felt like keeping with an open range pay plan was better, and then we want to move employees based on experience and their performance, hopefully tied to priorities that you as a board have set for staff to accomplish. One of the things I wanted to highlight, when I came here, I told your staff when I was facing this direction that it would be very important to demonstrate to you, the policymakers, their level of engagement in this study and how important it was to them. Well, we usually average about 70% employee participation in the engagements that we do around the United States. We're operating in about, I think, 48 out of the 50 states now. Your participation was next level. We're talking 96% of all employees completed their employee survey. And, when you look at the different job titles, we were able to capture every single one of your job titles through the employee survey. Well, what the heck does that mean? What that means is it gives us a more defensible recommendation to make. Want to talk a little bit about the compensation outlook. I referenced this earlier. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, John.
I did. Oh, you want to?
Sorry, one more. Thanks. So these next two slides we put in there to show you kind of what's going on with the market. So if you look at the graph, and I know this is private sector, and you're probably maybe wondering, Rob, why are we looking at the private sector slide with a public utility? But this kind of shows you that once we got to 2020, the graph in the private sector went up. We know that private sector was just throwing money at folks, especially if you're in engineering, especially if you have anything to do with construction or construction-related growth. And so the public sector typically lags behind the private sector. It takes us a little bit of time to catch up, right? So if we go to the next slide, you could tell in that private sector slide, by the way, that things are starting to moderate. They're starting to level off. The increase has declined. But even as late as the most recent Department of Labor numbers, it still shows that public sector wages and benefits are still going up, not at quite the same rate. We're about 4.5% now year over year, but they're still going up. And why is that important? Because quite frankly, the do-nothing option for you has been taken off the table. And I know that you as a board were proactive in providing increases to staff. And I think you're going to see that reflected in your position relative to the market. Are you competitive? Are you not? And quite frankly, when I was here for outreach, you probably weren't competitive to market. You've taken strides to help remedy some of that with some of the recent increases that you've given to staff. All of that to say, it's not one of those things where you probably want to put a flag in the ground and claim victory and like there isn't going to be continued movement. The public sector is continuing to move and we're still seeing increases. So you should probably look at hardwiring some type of increase every year, at least to adjust for cost of living in the next 3 to 5. We can go to the next slide. Something that we heard from folks when we were here, which quite frankly surprised me, and not being close to the coast, was housing affordability. That it was becoming an issue here, that rents were going up, that housing costs were going up. And that's something that maybe you'd been a little bit insulated from as a area, as a community. But as I said, everything kind of changed with COVID and with the continued growth in the state. Your particular area of the state, South Florida, has the fastest growing cost of living increase of anywhere in the state. It's one of the fastest in the southeastern United States. And
Number 2 in the nation, isn't it?
it's up there. I mean, we're talking Austin, San Antonio, Raleigh, South Florida. Yeah. And we don't see that slowing down anytime soon. But this is probably the thanks for telling me what I already know, Rob, slide, right? But just wanted to put that in there for you. So next we move to the compensation review piece. So as I said, we had wonderful participation from the employees. So that employee survey piece was very defensible. And then we moved to the compensation piece where we have to survey the market to find out if you're competitive. And this started with asking employees when I was here, who do you think we should be comparing you to? Along with our own analysis, along with your project leadership team, we ultimately came to agreement on what the approved market peers would be. What are the organizations, what are the entities that we're going to compare OUA to? What's your market? And so we had 19 approved peers. We ended up capturing data from 17 of those 19 peers. And for every one of your current job titles, we averaged 9.5 responses for every classification title that you have. That is a very high average. Obviously, the more data points you have, the more defensible the data set and recommendations would ultimately be. The survey, it was requested by staff and by your project leadership team that we update the data. And there was this thought that when we initially did the market survey, that data wasn't going to be as representative of the market because the market was moving. There were organizations in your region that had recently given increases. And so it was requested that we perform basically that market survey again. So the data that we ultimately ended up using was peer data after October 1, 2023. So this fiscal year's peer data. We have highlighted for you the entities in bold that we captured data from. As I said, it was virtually every one of the approved market peers we were able to get data from. Ultimately, your results, as I said, the first time that we did it, there was a negative in front of these numbers where you were behind the market. Keep in mind, this is an overall average. So this isn't individual classifications. This is when we take your current pay ranges that you have and we average all of the market response together. This is your current market position. So at your starting salaries on average, you're now right about 5% ahead of market, okay? Why is that important? Well, the minimum of the range, that's when you're gonna hire somebody, that's probably what you're gonna be looking to bring them in at, unless they have an incredible amount of experience. So that starting salary is very important. The midpoint, that survey midpoint at 7.5% above market, is particularly important for your organization. As we've heard this morning, you have a lot of high tenured employees, folks that have been with you quite a while. And succession planning, to your point, is going to be vitally important for the sustainability of your organization. What are you doing to protect that institutional knowledge that you have so it doesn't walk out the door when somebody retires. And so in a fast-moving market, when employees get to the midpoint of their range, they have some experience. They have the certifications that they need. They become very valuable in a market like we're in. If somebody's going to try to come and poach some of your employees, they're probably not going to look for the ones that just got hired. They're going to look for that operator that's been doing it for a while, that knows what they're doing, that they don't have to train, that they can plug in right away. And so that's going to be something as you move forward, you're going to want to make sure that you're preserving your market position at the middle of the range. Key study considerations, as I told your staff when I was here, you probably don't hire a consulting company to come in and do a compensation study if it's all rainbows and butterflies, right? Probably identify that we have an issue that we need to correct. We're not going to make any recommendation, nor did we, that would have any employees make less money than they make now. I don't think that's probably going to come as a surprise to anybody here. We're recommending the hybrid parity. Basically, that's a fancy description for something that's pretty straightforward. How do we move employees into those new competitive pay ranges? Well, one of the key issues that you had was wage compression when we got here, meaning I just started working here, you've been here 5 years, maybe even longer, and you and I are making close to the same amount of money. That erodes morale. That can in some ways seem like it's devaluing employees' contributions that they've made. And so one of the key things that we were trying to do outside of recommending what market competitive looks like is to recommend a methodology that would move employees into their new pay ranges and help solve for wage compression. So this kind of separates employees a little bit based on two factors. One, how long has an employee been in their current job title? And two, how long have they been in service to OUA? Now, we give 100% credit for how long an employee has been in their current job title. And then we give 25% credit for any remaining time that they've been with OUA, regardless of the job that they've been in. That is the hybrid of the two. That's how we can move an employee into their new range. We create hybrid years based on how long they've been in their current job and how long they've been with OUA, trying to value both of those things together. One other thing that we did is we know that from time to time you've had employees, like you mentioned, Mr. Paget, that may have 5 years currently, but really from their original hire date, more like 30 years. And so when we were calculating this hybrid parity, what we did was we removed the time, we went with the original hire date of the employee when they first came to work with OUA, and we removed any time that they were away from OUA to create basically their entire tenure. Okay? These implementation costs that you're going to see in a moment, the money slide that I'm sure you're saying, Rob, I really hope you would get there quickly. We're going to get there in just a second, how much it's going to cost. It's not a write a check today number. Okay, these are throughout the fiscal year, the costs that we're going to show you. So our recommendations are, you're getting really good. So it's, yeah, it's good at this. It's good. So as I was saying, we want to, our methodology, if you will, is we want to adopt the pay plan by taking your current classifications, moving them to be market competitive, making sure they're fair internally, and then we want to take employees that occupy these classifications and move them into those new ranges. That's the reassign piece. Selecting the implementation or the methodology, our recommendation is hybrid parity. You certainly don't have to go with that. We can talk about other options today if you'd like, but we felt like that was the best option to recommend to solve those two core issues, market competitiveness and wage compression. And then we place employees into those new ranges. I think I've kind of beat this horse to death here with the methodology explanation. I think you get it. But one thing about the hybrid parity is it can erode performance gains, or it can in some ways devalue, if you will, the amount of experience that somebody brought with them from outside. It focuses in on the time that someone has spent here with OUA. Here again, we didn't feel like that was so much of a negative because you have so many tenured employees here, and that the experience was gained here. And now we'll go to the money slide. So what you see in front of you there are 4 different options, okay? We've highlighted the hybrid parity option. So real quick, the bring to minimum. It's exactly what it sounds like. We're going to bring an employee to the minimum of their new range. So for example, let's say I'm an administrative assistant and I currently make $32,000 a year, and the minimum for the new range is $35,000. Okay, well then I'm going to move from 32 to 35 just to bring me to the minimum of my new pay range. It doesn't solve for wage compression. It doesn't necessarily move an employee to a market competitive position. It just gets them into the plan. So that's why that's the cheapest option. Only impacts 10 employees. Basically, that means you have 10 employees that currently their starting range is behind market. So if we take your existing ranges and we move them to be market competitive, any of those employees that were behind the new range, we're just going to move them into it. Okay? Then you have these 3 different parity options: class, hybrid, and tenure. Class parity would move employees into their new range only based on how long they've been in their current job. Doesn't value their overall tenure to the organization. So if I've been in my current job for 5 years, I'm only going to move 5 years into my new range. If I've been in the same job the entire time I've been with OUA and I've been 25 years in the same job, well then I'm going to move almost all the way to the max of my range. It only values the time that someone spent in their current job. Well, you can imagine that that could negatively impact a high performer. Or for example, the one individual that we saw here that just got promoted. Well, they may have been here for 20 plus years, but as far as class parity is concerned, they've been here 1 year. So they're only going to be moved into that new range based on the time they've been in their current job. Tenure says, don't care how many different jobs you've had here. If you've been here for 15 years, we're going to move you to the midpoint. If you've been here 30 years, we're going to move you to the max. Here again, that might not value somebody moving up, that might not value somebody with different positions. It just says, however long you've been here, that's how far we're going to move you. Hybrid is right in the middle, as we've said before. It gives 100% credit for the time someone's been in their current job, and then it gives partial credit for any other time that they've spent with OUA. These are base salary adjusted for cost of living numbers. So these don't include your taxes, these don't include benefits, things of that nature. This is base salary adjusted for cost of living. Because of the recent increases that this board has approved, basically you front-loaded the cost of your correction, if you will. That's why the cost is only 3% of payroll. Now you may be looking at that $100,000 and saying, Rob, that's a lot of money. And that's because it is. I still come from a place where I believe that's a lot of money. To correct wage compression, it's vitally important that you strongly consider going with that option. In a smaller organization like you're in, as those employees get more experience, they become more valuable in the marketplace. This would immediately allow you to, yes, value and appreciate that new member that's just joined the OUA team, but it also sends a clear message that those folks that have been here with you for some time, that you value them as well, and that you're going to kind of create that healthy separation for each employee in your organization. The next steps that we have for you, we're going to update your job descriptions, make sure that they're legally compliant, make sure that they are compliant with FLSA, whether exempt or non-exempt. We're going to make sure that the essential functions that they perform are consistent with the job description that they have. And then we're going to train your staff on how to maintain the pay plan moving forward. And then lastly, as I was mentioning earlier, we're going to create draft and final reports to memorialize all the work that we've done for you to this point. Thank you for your patience. And that's the presentation. I'm welcome to take any questions you might have.
John, go back to the money screen. Yeah. So the hybrid parity, it took into consideration the tenure. Because I see the tenure is an 8% increase. But and I get what you're saying, you use part of that and then you use a looking forward kind of a prediction type to get to the number you're at there with the 103.
It's based on an implementation date of April 1. So it's, I wouldn't say that it's forward-looking as much as it is, what is the amount of time that an employee has been in their current job title as of April 1 of this year.
Okay. All right.
And we give 100% credit for that. The tenure piece is 25%.
Okay. All right.
Did you look at benefits and retirement, that sort of thing, or?
We did, and that breakdown will be included in our draft report, but I can let you know at a high level, y'all do, I believe it's like an $1,100 for each employee that they can choose how they want to use that. As it relates to the market, that makes you very competitive for individual healthcare. Where you lag the market is in the family
Side of it. Yeah.
and it's significant. I was looking at it last night in preparation for the meeting in case this question came up, and on average, your market peers are around $1,400 is their contribution, $1,400 to $1,500 when we average all the peer data together for the HMO. Like I said, y'all are at $1,100. So there are advantages to doing what you do. There's flexibility for the employees. And as I said, if you don't have, family or dependents as part of the coverage that you need to take care of, then that's a very attractive option and it places you ahead of the market. But what we're seeing around the country in the clients that I work with, and right now I think I'm in 11 different states, about 38 different engagements, the family portion, the employer contribution for family insurance is becoming more and more important as a employment decision that employees are making. Am I going to work here? Am I going to stay here? Am I going to, begin employment with this entity? They will start asking, they are asking those questions now. What is the employer contribution? What's the family coverage if I have a spouse on there, if I have kids on there, that type of deal. And I get it. I mean, healthcare is one of the most expensive things that any entity is going to provide for their employees. But in a world where the private market is continuing to close the gap in benefits between the public sector and private sector, I would strongly urge you to consider increasing your contribution to family healthcare. You are at a competitive disadvantage to the market in that area. As it relates to leave time, accrual, dental, vision, disability, even holidays, you're at market and in a very good position. So I don't believe that you're at a competitive disadvantage really anywhere but those areas of health care for family, health care single plus spouse type of deal. Could you add a few more holidays into your mix? Should you look at having your holidays align with maybe the school district to where when your school's closed and your employee that has a child, now they have to go find childcare for that day, or they have to take a day off of work or what have you. So try to align your days off for when your customers are going to have a day off. There's minimal impact to the operation. I know water and wastewater never quits, so there's, you're going to be on every day, but for some staff members, if you could align your holidays maybe with what the school district's doing, that could be an added benefit, if you will. But overall, your benefits are at market or even slightly better than market, except for that family health care.
That's company I'm leaving right now. That was one of their deals, was free health care for me and my wife. which is huge.
You know what it used to be? You know what
Yeah.
it used to be was if you're in the public sector, heck, we might not make as much money as somebody in the private sector, but our benefits were going to be next level.
Yeah.
And we were going to have a better quality of life.
Right.
And, you know, those types of
Retirements,
things.
everything was always, even though you struggled here, you were.
Absolutely. And now all I hear is, oh, the new generation, these millennials, they don't care about benefits. All they care about is the money. I'm like, well, if the money's the same or less in the public sector and the benefits are the same,
Why, yeah.
right? I mean, so those entities that are having success with recruitment and retention that I have the opportunity to deal with, they're making more aggressive decisions on benefits. They are starting to separate themselves from the competition with the benefits offerings that they do. Some of them is low-hanging fruit, like tuition reimbursement, and you know the number of holidays and days off that you offer, those types of things. Others of it cost real money.
And you look at I'm sorry, John, go
Well,
ahead.
that's my question. What's your opinion on PTO versus sick days?
My own personal option is that it should be PTO. You provide the flexibility to the employee and you say, look, you can take the time off for whatever you need to take it off for, but here's what you get. And that, you know, you're going to value and reward those employees that also, you know, I come from that generation where you're going to get up and go to work. You know, you're going to have to be pretty sick, like bedridden, you know what I mean? Like it's 5 o'clock, it's time to go to work. Doesn't matter how you feel. So there are some folks that should be rewarded for not taking that sick time. And so you should have an accrual there where at the time of retirement or once they reach a certain cap that they could be rewarded, kind of cash out, if you will. Nothing extraordinary to where, you know, it breaks the bank, if you will, but I think it should be flexible. PTO, absolutely.
Well, back to your insurance, we were talking about that group that's in the middle. And that's the group that always gets overlooked. You're always looking at your senior guys, and you're always looking at the people you're hiring. That guy, the ones that you're a 10-year employee that's there every day, you depend on, you don't have to worry about. That's the ones that seem to get lost in the shuffle, even in the corporate world. And the insurance thing, which John has brought up numerous times, is probably of more importance to them because they're in that point of life where they have the kids, they have all these things. And those are the ones that we need to replace, the Kevins and the, you know, Chris in 10 years and Jamie in 7 months or 9 months. But, you know, so yeah, I think you hit on a lot of things that we knew, but we just need to be reassured of.
Well, in my opinion, better insurance will get you better health care.
Yeah,
You know, they don't turn you down if you throw that Blue Cross
yeah,
card up there, but if you have something else, you got some challenges there.
yeah. Yeah, you get kicked out early if you don't have the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe me, I've had the other, but the one with the Blue Cross on it seems to work the best. But anybody got any more questions? I think it was very, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. They look forward to your next one.
Well, I do want to say thank you to John, Loris, and Tabitha. It was a long slog, and but I feel like we could not have done it without their support and collaboration throughout this entire engagement. It really was next level. The level of attention to detail that they took into this, the way that they cared about the numbers, they didn't just rubber stamp numbers when they came in. They analyzed and scrutinized every decision, every data point, at every point along the way. And ultimately, it provided the most defensible numbers. So when I was mentioning that you have a good team, you have a very thorough team that genuinely cares about the people here and the work that gets done, and that shows.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm tickled to death to have Tabitha on this board. She's one of the most effective members, I think, here. her attention to detail drives me goofy sometimes, but I love it.
We have two others that
Oh, I just
sit
wanna-
at the end of the table that are
Yeah.
very attentive to detail as
Yeah,
well.
Larston and John can pick something out of Pepper, but, that's why we're so happy to have who we have, and, we know Larston's just beginning and John's on his way out. So that's another thing we've got to be looking at. This is gonna help us, and that's probably something that we need to ask is, what other entities are paying their John Hayfords? Because we've got to replace John.
We would be happy to get that information for you if you like, but.
Yeah, I think you need to do that.
He's
Don't you?
definitely a bargain for you right now, let's put it that way.
Don't you think? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you
Awesome.
very much.
Yeah, that's good. I like what I see. And all our managers stayed to see that they're supposed to get a raise. All right, finance report. Mr. Larston.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And want to thank Rob as well for that presentation, which I think was well received.
Absolutely.
It's for information purpose for the board. I think the board will then meet at some future point to make some decisions to move forward. Thanks very much, Rob.
Yeah, whole half the crowd just walked out.
Okay, the finance support for, as at January 24, 2024, we're going to be looking at the results for the first 4 months, which is October 1 to January 31st. Now, if we look at I guess I'm not paying my
Which one, what do you want to see? You want the
numbers.
right down here?
Uh,
So which one?
That's kind of small. Go down a bit
Do
to
you want that?
page 2, page 2,
This right here.
the next page. Okay. All right. So the finance report is, as at the end of January 24, our revenue stood at 4.26 million. This is compared to a budget of 4.3. We know this is marginally below the expected or the budgeted revenue by about 48,000. If you look at the page that is on the projector on the screen, we will see at the top how that 48,000 difference is made up. We see that 41,000 has to do with water, a shortfall there, and so 49. But in terms of other revenue, there's a 41,000 favorable variance. Some time ago, we spoke about what comprised the favorable variance, because I think we tend to look at just the water and so. But the other operating revenue, which shows a favorable variance, covers some other things. Go to page 16 for me, please.
Where?
Page 16, just. Yep, page 16. Yeah, so page 16 goes into a little bit of detail as to that favorable variance of 41,000. We see the bigger portion is attributable to the penalties and late fees that we charge customers because according to our guideline, there is penalty that we have to apply whenever customers pay late and those things. And then the second area is the install fee for SOAR. We know there's a number of SOAR projects going on right now in the Southwest Service area and also in the Pine Ridge Park. And then there is also 12,000 on the merchant and miscellaneous revenue. Now, merchant, that is a $4 charge that we levy again, for customers using credit card facility, right? So each transaction attracts a $4 charge to offset the cost that comes from Springbrook and Civic Pay for utilizing the credit card facility. I know it's a charge that is used by a number of companies and the municipalities as well. Miscellaneous is just as it says, miscellaneous. This has to do with if you get any unplanned revenue or check that we weren't expecting. It could be, there could be like last year, they could say, okay, the workers' con for last year, we have a $400 check rebate. So that goes into the miscellaneous. So if we go back to the first slide, the first slide is an overview on page 2, which gives an overview of the water, the sewer, and other revenue, which is just looking at your total. Of course, from a graphical representation, as was done last year, page 6 goes into a bit of the bar graph. Page 3, 5, and 6 go. Page 6, I look at page 6. Good. All right. So page 6 gets into some graphical for the water, and page 7 goes into some line graph for the sewer. Now, I think the last time I showed this slide, we were at the first month. So the blue at the top represent FY24. We were at the first dot, which were just at the previous year, FY23 starting. But now we're able to see a more wholesome or a better projection where we're able to see that for FY24, while the trend seemed to be in line with the previous year, the actual revenue is above, right? So that's what the takeaway is from this graph. Page 7, which is below, which is on the sewer side, the gap is not as wide, but the trend remains truthful to the one at the top, where we see the blue is outnumbering the gray, which shows that it is marginally above. It's above the last year, and the trend remains. So this month we expect and we hope that this month will be a very robust and good month going forward. So on the revenue side, that's the picture. So while we are 48,000 behind, I think the picture shows a good trend in terms of sewer and water, and also from the other revenue. If we should move to the costs, go back to page 2, if we should look at the costs, our present cost stands at $2.6 million versus a budget of 3.3. And that gives a favorable variance of 776,000. So that means we're in the good of 776 in terms of where we are at the end of January. Now, of course, there's more to the detail. So the question one might ask is, why is there such a large variance at this stage? Now, we know that there are some costs which hasn't really come into the books as yet, and those costs will come sometime in the future, depending. Some will depend on the board's decision, and some depend on third party. A list of just a few is in the report where I identified, I think, 4 major big costs that will come later on. One has to do with there are a few unfilled positions which we continue to carry, which will be filled hopefully in the coming year. Then the second point was that the employer pension contribution presently stands at 0 because the actual valuation for FY23 says that the fund was sufficiently funded by the employer, and therefore we did not need to put any matching contribution from the employer. Now, we are expecting the valuation for FY24 within the next month. The valuation for FY23, given the projection for FY24 within the next month or two, that will tell us how much should the employer be paying in FY24. So we don't have that figures yet, but we do have it in the budget. We do have, it's been accrued. So when that report comes, I guess the chairman of the pension fund might know a little bit more than me in terms of that valuation when the actual valuation will come. But we're looking at we had a provision of about close to $300,000 in the book. So when you look at that big figure variance of close to 800,000, there are some things which really makes that up. The contingency, we do have a cushion in that any unplanned event happening throughout the year, we do have a $300,000 in the budget as well. And then finally, we did include a $1 per hour along with a merit of 2.5% to the employees in FY24. So that is a cushion that is there in the budget. The board, after reviewing some of what Rob says are possible, after making decision as to where you'd like the decision is at liberty to decide whether to utilize. So, but those are presently in the budget. We do not have actual costs as yet matching those budgeted figures. But of course, you could have those figures coming in anytime now, right? So those are cushioning in the system. So on the expense side, that is the report. And then the operating expense, which is simply just the depreciation, looking at your total asset, depreciating it as to the rules that we have and the interest. We are in line with that non-operating costs. If we should move to the restricted costs, which is at the bottom there, restricted revenue, to the restricted revenue, we see that the restricted revenue presently at January 31st is 246,000 versus 141. Of course, the variance figure to the right shows that we are 104 with a breakdown of 62,000. Let's lump that together. That's about 85,000 interest. So the last three figures below has to do with interest, the 62,000, the 914, and the 12,800. You lump those together, those are the interests that we are presently earning above the budget of 2%. I will speak a little bit more on that in the next agenda item, investment. So I leave that for now. And then the top figures shows the capital connection. As we know, the capital connection with regard to these new projects that we're doing, and we're extending the facility throughout our service areas. So the restricted revenue shows a favorable variance of 104,000. And that is just a summary of the overall view. But of course, if there are questions, we are always welcoming to further explain any questions that you might have. And as we go month by month. So presently, overall, the picture as at the end of January looks okay, looks good, but we know that there are some coming things in the coming year that could impact some of these variables that we have. But as it is right now, at a glance, we're in a good position financially.
Good deal.
Yeah. Well done.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any more questions?
No.
All right. Tom, you wasn't here, but we blamed everything on you while you were gone.
You found out you didn't need me.
Let's move on to item agenda number 24, the investment report.
Okay, the investment report. Annually, we normally prepare a report showing how has the funding of the OUA been, and how have we invested the funds that has come to us throughout the year. So we start by showing a comparison between 22-23 year-end versus the position as at January 31st, 24. Looking at the total for the last 2 years, which is September 22, September 23, we see the totals are pretty much flat, 11.5, 11.2, which is where the funds were tracking at. But in January, there seemed to be an increase from 11.2 to $14 million. And probably in one's mind, the question might arise, wow, that's a jump. But historically, just to give a little bit of insight into the figures, historically, because of our accounting treatment, we normally, at the end of the financial year, September 30th, we have to submit all grant claims to the state. We, in the past 2 years, yes, we have done that, September 30th, 22 and 23. Now, those state grant claims would normally size about $2.5 million, 2 to 2.5. It takes about 2 months to get those. So what you are seeing in the jump here, it's really in the general operating account, which is attributable to that claim that we submitted and received sometime, I think that was in December, thereabout. We got our check, well, not check, but our wire transfer reimbursing us for those costs that we would have incurred. So that is a an analysis of the totals. But if you look to the right of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about the last 7 items, I place a R beside them, indicating that these are, of the 14, those are restricted funds. These are not funds that we are at liberty to just utilize. There are clear documentations which state if we should utilize things like the emergency funds, there must be a clear plan by the board in terms of how do we go forward, whether to put back those funds or what measures we will take if we should utilize those. The debt reserve of $1 million, previously it was like $194,500,000. At the end of January, it stands at $1 million each month. As the debt covenant state, we have to set aside approximately $200,000 per month to finance the debt repayment, which is in 1st of April and I think the 15th of August. 2 payments that we make each year to the tourist loan and also to the SRF loan. So that's funds that we are building up at $200,000 a month, and then that will be paid in the next 2 months. So that account will pretty much wiped out as we make those payments, and then we move forward to accumulate another 6 months to pay the next at the end of September. So those are the restricted accounts. Below I do show a break or a split between the restricted and the unrestricted of those total above. So we are able to identify what makes up those figures. The unrestricted, there is not a requirement, although we will possibly come to the board for some, but there's not a requirement for any clear policy that we have to abide by, to utilize some of these, like the capital connection for wastewater and water and those things, operating account. If we should move a little bit below, having in terms of this shows now an overall picture of the interest rate as we per the investment policy. The investment policies stipulate how we are able to invest the funds that we have, whether we are utilizing government instrument, CDs from banks, or if we leave the funds in our regular banking account. Now, there are some clear guidelines that we will have to follow if we should choose things like certificates of deposits. When I say CDs, those are certificates of deposit. The only two areas that we have utilized to date during the year are we have funds in our regular banking account, and we also have funds set aside with in treasury notes. Our banking account started the financial year at about 0.4. It steady climb because of interest rate movements in the market. It steadily climbed to 3.56%, which it presently stands at. But we know that our projection is that that will decline sometime during the year. The government had earlier stated that they will intervene into the market about 3 times to carry down the interest rate. We have not seen that as yet, but we know with inflation still high, 3.1, they're expecting inflation to be lower. So they have not moved the interest rate. So the bank likewise has remained at 3.56. Treasury notes moving presently from 3.9 at the start of the year. Presently it's at 4.91%. Those are the treasury notes that interest rate that were applicable in the market. The bank deposits that I related to earlier, just to briefly state that we utilize South State Bank as our main bankers, and those funds are secured. We have been given some comfort that government deposits are 100% secured, so we feel comfortable with those funding being at South State Bank. In terms of FY23, our interest that we have earned, our total interest is $350,000, of which $275,000 came from bank deposits and $75,000 came from treasury notes. Now, the treasury note, we bought some treasury notes on, let me see the date, in November 23. I think it was November 23. Okay, so we bought some treasury notes, and we bought that treasury note, $2 million worth of treasury note at a discount. Normally when we enter the market, we look at the various instruments with their yield and what's their coupon rates and those things. So the best option that we had was a $2 million at a discounted price of $1.9 million with a yield of 4.5. It was the best in the market at the time. And we gained a total of $75,000. It was in from November 4th to August 31st. So we tried not to overlap the financial year end because it comes a little bit more involved with the auditors. You have to be more accurate with what you are allocating to the financial periods. So we pulled it out before September 30th. So those are the interests, and the financial statement as at September stated 350, and the auditor, we are confident when they come, which should be shortly, will validate those figures of $350,000 interest for the year. So this is just a graphical review of what our position at the end of September 30th of course, there's no blue treasury note at September 30th because it matured August 31st, I think it was. So what we had was just money market and the regular bank account, both earning 3.56%. We showed that that's an average. Remember the figure? It was 11.2 million, I think it was. It was $11.2 million, and that's the split between other bank deposit and money market. That's just a classification of how the bank reports those. And then the interest for the year, during the year, we did have some treasury notes. So you see the 75,000 representing 21% of total interest. The money market, 61,000, 17.5%, and then the general bank account, 213,000. So at the end of September 30th, our funding was allocated between two categories, but the interest for the financial year was between three, spread over three financial instrument. Looking to close off, as at January 31st, we had accumulated a total of 139,603, and the breakdown is we do have $2.4 million that we place into treasury notes, but we haven't earned anything. It's accumulating behind the scene, but we haven't actually gotten a drawdown on it as yet. But the money market and the bank account is what comprises 139,000. Earlier we said that the interest in the budget was 2% because we were projecting a reduction. So 63,000 is the interest that we accrued to date. We have a 139,000 in actual. And the spread of our cash presently is how the funds are spreading them. $2.4 million in treasury note, 1.1 in money market, and 10.4 in other bank. And the interest at 139 presently, we expect to end the year probably somewhere around where we ended FY23 at 350. We attach the investment policy because we know, for example, that Mr. Gillard wasn't here last year, so probably like for his and for anyone who forgot, we attach the investment policy. Secondly, the state do require that the investment officer undergo 9 hours of CPE training investments. This year, well, not this year, last year, FY23, we surpassed that. The investment officer did 13 hours of training for CPE investment. So that's one area audited by the auditors. So we did meet the state requirement and surpassed it. And then finally, the OUA deposit annual report, which is also another state requirement. We have submitted that already, and attached, I think, in the document is an email which confirms that it was received and approved. OUA report, PBAR, the Public Deposit Annual Report, was received and approved by the state entity. So in summary, the overall picture, investment, our funds were placed between bank and treasury note during the year. We surpassed the budget because of the interest rate that we received, and we are projecting, well, presently we are surpassing it also in FY24, and we expect somewhere about what our total amount of interest in FY23, we are projecting to be somewhere in that area in FY24. And we have met all statutory requirements in terms of investment officer for FY23. Any questions?
Nope. I think we're good. Very detailed. Very, very detailed. Good.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, John, we need to move on. We're gonna lose a couple people here,
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
so
Okay.
20
This
minutes.
is a very quick issue, very.
need a pump. We need a pump.
Well, we already got the pump.
You need some motions to approve some things. You need a motion to approve the investment report.
Yeah, we didn't approve the finance report either, did we?
No, we haven't.
Okay,
We went right on into the investment
Okay.
report.
all right, so we need a motion. You're doing both at the same time, or do you need?
Separate.
I thought he was gonna do them separately. There should have been a motion to approve the,
Finance report.
finance report, and then a separate motion to approve the investment.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the finance report first.
I'll make a motion to approve the finance report as presented.
Second.
All right, motion by Mrs. Trent, second by Mr. Nelson. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we need a motion to accept the investment report.
Motion to accept the investment report as presented to the board.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Mr. Nelson, a second by Mrs. Trent to accept the report as written. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Anything else, Tom?
You're up.
We're caught up? All right, go to the pump, John.
Chairman, number 25, basically, we had a pump fail at NW14. It's cohort, same age, same year, was questionable. So as an emergency procedure, I authorized the purchase of 2 new pumps. They have been installed. This is more of a ratification of that emergency proposal of $19,986 spent with Hydro Services, Inc. for 2 pumps for NW14.
You think we ought to put a couple pumps on? That's the same pumps in all the lift stations, right?
No, they all vary.
They all vary?
And we did not have a replacement pump. We have some, but we did not have one of that size for this station. So the one that's still working will keep
As a
as a backup
okay.
should these new pumps fail.
Okay, all right. All right, so I need a motion. No,
We need a motion to ratify that expense.
I'll make a motion.
motion by Mrs. Trent,
Second.
second by Mr. Mullenhour. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, number 26.
Mr. Chairman, board members, we have had in place since around 1995, and then an update in 2003, I think it was, a cross-connection control manual. DEP contacted us and said, we need you to update that. There's not really a statute requirement, that's just a request of theirs that we update it. There are some older references that have been superseded for different material that's been superseded by new ones. So I said, fine, we'll go through it, update those references, and you have in your hands here 2 things that we need approval. A new resolution, 24-01, which updates the 1995 original resolution, and a new cross-connection control manual, which was brought up to current standards referencing the specific valves or backflow devices to today's standards.
And all recommended by staff.
Yeah, they're both recommended by staff. Attorneys reviewed it, and we're good to go.
Okay.
So, first of all, a motion to approve Resolution 24-01, which is included. We had one minor change recommended by the attorney. It's slightly different than what's in your board package, but it's referencing that it's updating 95-09, I think.
It sounded like you did not have a cross-connection plan when I read it, because I'm wondering, what's behind this? We've already got it. So instead of adopting it as it was originally submitted, you're not amending much of anything. So it needed to be worded as though you were amending and restating the plan that was already in effect. That's the reason that we were tinkering with the wording. Also, you were not amending a prior motion or a prior action. You're amending the plan itself. So I think, I was thinking about that earlier. If we got it clear that we're only amending and restating the plan, we're talking about the cross-connection plan.
That is correct.
So it's the same plan, you're just amending, you're updating it really, amending and restating the cross-connection plan. And then on the plan itself, in the heading, needs to say amended and restated cross-connection plan with the same plan. I'm sorry,
All right, so how's the motion need to be worded?
Well, I believe the first one would be to adopt the resolution 24-01.
correct.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Trent. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And then in your board package is the cross-connection control
Manual.
that is up for consideration, that is amending earlier approved manual. So again,
Approved by staff and by our attorney.
that is true.
Okay. So we need a motion to accept,
So stated.
to approve. We need a motion to approve the new cross-connection manual. Updated
Amended and restated cross-connection.
cross-connection manual. Okay.
Second.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Mollenhauer. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Agenda item number 27 is a request by staff that the board take action to approve a proposal from Sumner Engineering concerning the consumptive use allocation review that we have ongoing. Try to get down here to it. Sorry.
Who's in charge of the air condition controls?
The wall, so it's pretty cold in here.
Actually goes underneath the test building here.
Yeah, I think Ray J's gonna blow it.
Yeah, it's blowing right there.
So, as the board recommend, we are currently looking at our consumptive use allocation with these pending developments coming in, whether it's Lakefront, whether it's Devonic Springs, Midtown. We will have a new demand on our consumptive use allocation, whether groundwater or surface water. Jeff Sumner and OUA staff have been working back and forth with the district. This just formalizes that report, that effort by Sumner Engineering as a proposed initial budget of $30,000 under his project number 23-02, to again, just formalize that effort on the part of Sumner Engineering to assist OUA staff in upping the consumptive use allocation.
All right, need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Trent to accept Sumner Engineering's request on the CUP allocation. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So moving along, item number 28 is an effort that staff has moved forward with the Taylor Creek Isles. Just to bring people up, back in around the mid-2005, the OUA installed a vacuum collection system in Taylor Creek Isles. We're down to, I think, I don't know what the number is. Let's say it's under 20 residents who never connected to the system for whatever reason. Never connected. This is a part of the OUA was able to get a grant from the DEP to actually facilitate connecting individuals to our system. So we went out and got an engineering proposal, submitted, requested. Craig A. Smith responded. The board approved them in the ranking. This is their scope of work effort, where we can move forward with the design, how the connections are to be made, and what those costs would be from plumbers, and then allocating the fees. So this is just a scope of work from Craig A. Smith to the tune of $32,700, so we can move forward with bidding and actually implementing connections of these houses. Of course, it'll be an ongoing process. We'll go out and get bids, bring it back to the board to approve. I mean, this is just for the engineering scope of work.
All right, what's the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Have a motion by Mrs. Trent, need a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Nelson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Public
Okay.
comments.
Items from the attorney.
No public comments?
And nobody got up. Tom, you got anything? John?
So, you just see the update of the projects. I want to be very clear about this. Pine Ridge Park, they missed substantial completion date, which was Friday the 16th. They have some requests pending for additional time. You know, we go through projects, they might have product that's delayed or whatever. We'll work through that, but contractually, they missed their substantial completion date. Project is still moving on. The roof's on, it's dried in. They're doing electrical work, so it's a good project. It's just they didn't meet their February 16th deadline. Everything else is moving along. I should have an update on the State Road 78 project, 24-inch water main. That engineer's working. We've got numerous DOT projects going on, lots of those, trying to stay ahead of them. A lot of resurfacing, which means we have to look at valve pads and, you know, moving hydrants around. But it's a busy time. We have the bid out. I think Jamie gave you a quick overdue for the meter reader room down at the maintenance barn. Once we do that, we'll try to bring a consolidated plan as to what that cost is, who can move where, what office space is opening, and we can then talk about the additional personnel. We've recently hired an assistant finance director. We have our HR person, so we are adding staff, and it is going to grow. We're looking at already putting together the advertisement for an assistant wastewater treatment plant supervisor, because he doesn't look like he can hire. So we've got things going on. We're going to be very, very busy growing staff. We're going to bring back, now that we got the evergreen stuff done, we'll go back and try to address the licensing issue, PTO. There's lots that we'll be bringing back, and the recommendation probably will be that we set up a workshop specifically for those features so that we can focus on just employees or whatever the case may be that we bring up. So, a lot going on. It's going to be a busy springtime. Tommy, your tenure's been extended without your request, so you'll be around a lot.
Believe me, I'm catching more crap than you can imagine.
So, that's kind of the nut of my report. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a very busy March, April timeframe. A lot going on.
Oh, we're moving sometime in March. Process has already started, but
You'll be here.
I'll be here to finish my chairmanship, and
December.
and there won't be any extending my chairmanship. Let's get that out there. But our plan.
The next meeting, March.
Yeah, I'll be at the next meeting, and then probably be leaving from here, going home. And 'cause we got the place bought, we've got our first 2 loads up there. Wife is pacing because I haven't moved her yet. But you know, again, we had to find a replacement, and I didn't do that. Clint Rooks did that. You know, they used him to hunt, liked him, so they come to me about it, and I said, you know, he's his own man, so let's talk to him. And which is the best of both worlds for him, because he's doing a hunt for them this weekend. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work. But so it's important that y'all really take a good look at what the salary deal, because right now I could steal your mechanic out of here for close to 40 an hour. So you really need to look at that and make sure that they get the classifications right with these guys, with their seniority in their departments. It's going to get tougher. Hibbett's just hired one away from me. And I hired a bunch of young men that had never worked before, straight out of school or still in school and stuff. I'm a firm believer in doing that. If you don't teach them how to work, who's going to? And he's been with me about 8 months, and he just got a job at Hibbett's. They increased his pay by $3 an hour, so they're starting him at 18 and giving him more hours. So when you start seeing that kind of thing happening, you know, we thought we were ahead of the deal there at the Wash, you know, and we are, but now people, to get these good employees, you know, and not to blow my own horn, but they're begging me to get back up there to get back to work. So it's going to be tough to keep the people you have when you got these guys rotating out. And I know that's been a point that people get aggravated with me about, but we needed to know. It's because it's not about us. It's not about anything. It's about this community and having people in place. And Jamie Gamatia is going to be your hard one. We know we got Raul, and I was glad to hear that that's who y'all were bringing up in that spot, because I think he has a lot of potential. But Jamie's is going to be tough. I mean, he sit out there quietly, and at the end of the day, who can go? If Jamie was to leave tomorrow, who can do his job? You know, so that'd be you. Is who it'd be. You know, so we need to get past that. And I know you said you're getting ready to start looking, but you got less than a year.
Running out of time.
You're running way out of time. And John, I know you won't give us a firm date, but we know you're within a year and a half.
Ballpark, yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
Let's run out of knees.
well, what else you got to get rebuilt?
I don't know.
He'll be a bionic man before we know it.
But again, it's
Got another 20 years out of these knees. So.
yeah.
The
But
brain I'm worried about. I'm not worried about it.
Brain shot here.
but succession's very important, and I, you know, we've been pretty fortunate to find someone, I think, through if we move some people around, that a young man that wants to take my position here on the board. So, John will have to take my position, and this guy will be a county, but he's been on some boards before and been around this community his whole life, and younger, got a great business mind. So we're hoping we can get him, move this stuff around and get him on the board. So.
You got a friend that'll fill the other alternate position?
No, so. But Harry, you need to be pounding on your commissioners down there about our agreement.
Yeah, they haven't done anything.
Haven't done anything. So we need to get that done. That's a priority, you know? And I think Tim's still the guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, and I think he's got competition coming up, I think, on this go-round. I think somebody's running against him.
They've officially filed,
But
there's rumors that-
yeah, there's rumors there's somebody going to run against him. So, but yeah, we really need that, because it's where you live, you know. Quickly, and I'll leave, but I got water and electric week before last in Virginia. Took 15 minutes to get water, and when they said, okay, you're done, I said, no, I'm not. I paid you a deposit. They said, we'll send you a bill in 2 weeks. We don't charge deposits. I'm sorry, we'll send you a bill in 2 months, because we only bill 6 times a year.
Really?
I said, you're sure we don't have a deposit? No, we just bill you for water. And I'm like, okay, all right. Not used to that. So I go and we call Appalachian Electric. I said, well, this is where they'll get me right here. It cost me $25.92 to get electric in Virginia. Homeowners insurance, mine's $100 a week here. $100 a week, pay $5,200 a year for that little house. $833. So, yeah, property tax $570 on 5 acres and a house. So yeah, I'm out of here. But if I don't get a chance, thank y'all. It's been fun. Miss Melanie, you quietly have been a very good mentor to me. And, you know, I can always read your face when I was doing something you didn't like. So, you know,
Well, this isn't goodbye.
no, but I mean,
One more month.
but it's a hand off. I mean, at the
Okay.
beginning of the
Well,
meeting,
just
so,
wanna make sure that you're here next
yeah,
month.
yeah, I'll be here.
Okay,
But-
gotta make sure.
I couldn't ask for a better group of friends on this board, and John, I wish I'd been able to work with you longer. Tom, I've known you my whole life. Yeah, so, but thank y'all for the opportunity.
We're gonna miss you.
It's been fun.
Well, the June meeting will be at your house up there.
Yeah, well, that's perfectly fine. Bring your motorcycles. Or your bicycles. We'll go do we got a 32-mile, along the river, 32-mile paved walk, or ride your bicycle or ride your dog. It don't matter. Just can't ride a dirt bike on it, but yeah. But thank you. It's been an adventure, and I'm glad that, we've been able to make some great changes, I think, as a board.
You don't get on the board up there?
No,
That was a quick answer.
I'm before this, I did the Little League stuff for several years, then I helped with the FFA, then I come here and I'm retired. I'm going back to doing what I love to do, is be working with the trucks and with that group I was with up there before, so. But yeah, thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Wait, hold it. Board, question. We have speckled perch coming up. What's the possibility of us advertising? We want to get our name out there. We want to be good community minded. And I don't know, but I think it's $500 to put a banner up at the rodeo arena. Just something to throw out there to show that we're community
I
minded.
got too much.
The board might consider that.
You know, it's a great place to advertise.
This is a tight spot.
Yeah.
Well, the
Even that
livestock
as well.
show, the arenas, it's a great place to advertise and to hey, move to Okeechobee. We have a job waiting for you.
Well, to get rid of that stigma that we have.
Yeah.
No, I hear what you're
This is
saying.
something to throw, I mean,
We've got,
Two things in connection with that.
yes.
We're able to do that.
A, there needs to be a position created, and two, there needs to be a job description
Or,
for what you're gonna advertise for.
no, this is just, Okeechobee Utility Authority sponsoring whatever.
Community.
like Walpole and them do, to put the sign, and the feed companies, they all pay, they donate
As
money.
far as an advertisement,
Yes, advertising.
Yeah. It's just community, it's just civic.
I don't know, I kinda feel like that, like I feel about the Army advertising. It's public money that we're spending for that. And what are we we're not trying to sell services. What are we advertising?
No, you just,
I'm sorry, I needed to,
No, it's,
legally, you can do,
I think what he's trying to do is to be more out in the community,
visible.
involved in the,
Right.
involved in what goes on in the community, as far as livestock shows, rodeos, baseball, whatever it is, that we have some kind of visibility that we are sponsoring. And
I don't have a problem with that. I'm sorry, I got off track.
So if I can make one thought, and we can do that, that's fine, because we have contingency money. But what we may want to suggest doing when we set up the budget for next year
right.
let's just put a line item in there of some money.
Promotional
2,500.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2,500, and then it's already in the budget, we've allocated $2,500 or whatever the number is for promotional advertisement, whatever, and then it's a no-brainer because we would just allocate some of that money.
And then you
towards
pick what you want to do.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
That would be the way to do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're not exactly the most popular people for whatever reason.
Well, we talked about through the years, what if we take one of our newer units and just put it in the parade and
Well, not only that, but
Yeah,
Well, well, just
put a
for,
booth out there.
just,
right?
just for information, when they just had the touch-a-truck thing at the, we were out there. We're
I've
one of
seen
the
that,
few
yeah.
people that, we go out there, we buy the little Bob the Builder hats and crayons and coloring books, and we do that. We did that for the touch-a-truck. We've done it for 2, 3, 4 years now. Our employees have been out there. So there are things that we do. We just don't do the speckled perch or anything, but.
but that being said, what you just said, that's not a bad idea. Just to have, whether it's the new dump truck or the new vac truck or the new vac truck would really be sharp if we had it by that time. But just something to say that we are involved in our community. Because right now all we are is the people that demand money for water.
So I guess my question is, I don't think we do a good enough job telling our story of what it takes to get water to people,
Exactly.
get rid of sewage.
Yes.
Sometimes you go to these events and they'll have like a big television there with maybe a 15-minute video of, maybe taking water from Lake Okeechobee, putting it in the faucet in the house, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe people will appreciate what we do more,
Yeah.
what these guys do, and how much it costs to get that done, and why their bills are what they are. And
It's funny what you say. When people ask me, they'll say, well, the chlorine, I can smell the chlorine. I said, well, we're surface water. It varies. I said, our water varies. If the wind's blowing, if we get influx from the river, there's so many things. And they're like, oh, I didn't think about that. It's not on wells. Because they think well water always the same. That's the way they process it. When I say, no, we're pumping out of the lake and we have to process whatever we get to a set standard, we can't deviate. So if it takes more of this product, more of that product, or whatever it takes is what we have to do. And once they get that, it's like a light flashes, and it goes back to what you're just saying.
even if you had like an open house one day at the water treatment plant, I don't know if that's something that you would be concerned about as far as somebody getting hurt, but just invite the public and say, hey, this is what it takes to get this done.
Yeah, if you do it
You
right.
do that in the
Correctly.
park, speckled perch.
Yeah.
Have a booth.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
If you had somebody there to man it,
Right.
you got an HR person now, so.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Just want to share, you want to come off, more positive, whatever. I really am irked if I was to make a credit card payment that I have to pay $4 to do that. Make it more user-friendly for the people paying their bills. Now, because I'm gone for a few months, I write a check ahead. So I'm covered, covered till next August or something.
Right.
But I could pay it with a credit card, but I'm not spending $4 every time, every month.
Yeah, they charge us 3 point what?
Got it.
Well, the $4 is a pass-through. We're being charged from the Springbrook, and they're going to charge us, so it's just a pass-through. It's not that.
Why are there other bills I pay with the credit card that I don't have to pay that fee? Why?
You will.
They incorporate it into the.
I'm in retail business, all right? And you have to understand what is going on in the United States right now. There was a major lawsuit against Visa and MasterCard, which was just settled, okay? Because of what they're doing to us retailers. The amount of dollars that it's costing OUA, My Drugstore, and other retail establishments is off the charts. We can't absorb it anymore, all right? You're not talking about $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You're talking millions and millions of dollars that businesses and entities just can't shoulder anymore. Unfortunately, it's got to be passed through because these companies are just ripping off the public, plain and simple. And our representatives are doing absolutely nothing about it until there's a lawsuit, against them. I've got to pay the same amount of dollars when I go into an establishment. And I wish there was a way around it, but fortunately, today's economy, there's not.
Yeah, it's, even when I did my water up there, they said that if you do pay with a credit, that we got to charge, I think it was 3%, is what they told me. And I said, well, whatever you want, but it's the financial institutions it's just a money-making thing for them. It's just a profit center. It's a standalone profit center for them. And they pass it down to us, which if we raised it up for everybody, then the guy that doesn't pay for the credit card would be paying.
That was gonna be my point.
Yeah.
If somebody's paying cash, or they're doing direct debit, or they're paying with a check, if we incorporated that $4 into everybody's bill, then they would be paying for the convenience of the credit card users. So when it's just a pass-through, you want to use your credit card, there's a pass-through, it's what it is. But we offer the direct debit, we offer pay by check. Yes, we even have people walk in with cash.
We do the prepay like you do.
So there's other options, but for those folks that want to use a credit card over the phone, there is going to be a surcharge for it, unfortunately.
I can't remember who it was the other day. I couldn't believe that they finally were doing it, and I can't remember the company.
There's a couple of restaurants here in town I know that do that.
Yeah.
They add it on.
Oh, that's right. That's where it was. I was doing a title last week in the clerk's office. They do a 3%. Yeah, that's where it was at.
State of Florida, you pay for a license of any sort.
Yeah, I forgot it.
Occupation.
I knew there was somewhere I couldn't believe was doing that, and it's that office there. But they're just passing it through because the next guy over was paying with cash. So. Yeah. So. We good?
You're good.
All right. Thank y'all.
Look at these bags.